welcome once again. So, like I said, we are in module 2 of our training, and we're going to start from where we stopped, and we'll be looking at restorative justice practices. Restorative justice practices. Restorative justice practices. So when we talk about restorative, just like the word implies, restored. When you are trying to restore something, what do you want to do? You want to bring it back to its initial state, right? So when we talk about restorative justice practices, we mean these are the approaches to addressing conflict, harm, and wrongdoing that focus on repairing relationships, promoting accountability, and facilitating healing for all parties involved. You know, most especially when we are trying to resolve conflict that involves friends or communities that were once in a cordial relationship that will coexisting peacefully, and then suddenly a crisis break in, and then they went their separate way. And this is the kind of situation you are trying to address. So what you are trying to do is you are trying to restore the communities unto themselves. You are trying to restore a marriage. You are trying to restore a relationship. Good friends, okay? So what means here is that you are trying to address conflicts or harm or a wrongdoing, and you focus on trying to repair relationship, promoting accountability, and facilitating healing. Because once our relationship is broken, the first thing that you need to do to mend that relationship is to promote healing. The healing must take place. Healing must take place. It's a very important thing. For once healing takes place, reconciliation is possible. You understand? And then, relationship continues. So these practices emphasize dialogue, empathy, and active participation in resolution process. So, like we have been hammering on empathy, we have been hammering on dialogue, we have been hammering on active participation, because the parties involved in the process must be allowed and be given opportunity to participate in the process of restoration. All right. So we talk about some elements or some restorative justice practices. Let's look at some of the restorative justice practices. We'll talk about restorative cycle. Restorative cycles. Okay, when we talk about restorative cycles, what are we talking about? We are talking about bringing together those affected by an incident or conflict to engage in a facilitated dialogue that is share their perspective and work towards a resolution. Now, when we're talking about restorative cycle, it simply means that, okay, we'll come to a round table, or we'll come as a community people, we sit together, and then we give everybody opportunity to say something. Okay? That is what we talk about fair hearing. That's to give everybody opportunity to say his own view or perspective or opinion in a way and manner they want to say it, all right? So because in the process of trying to hear, you allow people to express themselves freely and how they feel it, okay? So that's what we're talking about. So you bring people together. That's what we call it a restorative cycle. You bring people together, they sit together, and then everybody begin to express his or herself according to how they were affected or they were, involved in the incident. So what are the elements? What are the key elements to look at here when you are talking about a restorative cycle? One, we talk about participants sit in a circle to promote equality and open communication. That's why we say a circle, because when you sit in a circle, everybody is equal. Okay, everybody is equal. When it's a triangle, it's a different case, because you see angles of a triangle, so some are pointed out, so it's indicated something else. But when it's a circle, everybody is equal, round, all right? So now everybody have an opportunity to speak, all right? So that's why we say by sitting in a cycle, what that means is that you are promoting what we call equality, all right? And then apart from that, you give everybody opportunity to say something, to communicate, open communication. All right, everybody is listening to everybody as they speak. And then we'll talk about each participant has an opportunity to speak and be heard without interruption. That's what I'm saying. You allow people to express themselves freely, the way they feel and how they feel it. You are not interrupting them. Allow them to express it, because it's one of the process of healings. Okay, when people are angry, when people are aggrieved, one of the things that make them heal quickly is when they are able to express their pains. Okay, allow them, even if they want to vent their anger, allow them to vent their anger. Okay, so they should express themselves freely, open communication. And that also, aids the process of healing in the conflict. So, and that makes restorative justice very easy. Then we'll talk about the facilitator guides the process. That is, in a restorative circle, there must be a facilitator, all right? Because you cannot just allow people to sit and they will argue and then there will be no control. So you have to have a facilitator who is regulating, who speak and who is next to speak. Do you understand? And then also take emphasis where possible. And then the facilitator guides the process, ensuring that discussions are respectful and productive. Do you understand? In as much as we are angry, in as much as the emotions are very hard, what do you expect to do? Speak respectfully, all right? Speak respectfully and make the communication productive. That's what we're talking about here. So even if you are aggrieved, even if you are angry, even if your emotions are very high concerning the matter in question, what you need to do is you need to speak calmly and respectfully. And even if you are going to talk on the top of your voice, make it be respectful. All right. And then we'll talk about participants collaboratively identify the harm caused, explore the underlying causes, and develop a solution. All right. So you put the situation down. So what is the problem? Okay, this is what happened. All right. Okay, what causes it? You begin to ask questions because you are exploring the issue. Okay, you identify the issue. Now you are beginning to ask questions. What causes this issue? All right. What causes the misunderstanding? What causes the conflict? All right. And then you now develop a solution to the problems you have identified, and also deal with the root causes of the problem. So by so doing, you are in the process of restoring justice. So let's look at victim-offender mediation. Victim-offender mediation as one of the restorative justice practices. All right, victim-offender mediation. Now, victim-offender mediation involves a structured dialogue between the victim and the offender. All right, facilitated by a trained mediator. It could be you in this class now, to address the harm caused by the offense and find a resolution. Now, in this class now, we are going to train you in such a way that it's very unfortunate that this training is not going to be holistic. Like, it's not going to cover all the modules, but we expect that with the knowledge you are going to have here today, you should be able to resolve conflict. I get a point now. So in case you are in a situation whereby it involves a victim and offender, all right, and there is a structured dialogue that is in such a way that everybody is given opportunity to talk, and then the next person also talk, and it continues like that. Do you understand? Until you find a solution, then this is what we call victim-offender mediation. That's you are mediating between the victim and the offender. All right, you bring them together and then sit them down, and then they discuss the problem, discuss the issue, and make sure that they find a solution to their problem. All right. Then what are the key elements you are going to look at when you are dealing with victim-offender mediation? The victim has an opportunity to express the impact of the offense and ask questions. All right. So if you are the victim, you express yourself, how you were affected, how you were harmed, all right, how you were, maltreat it or handle, and then you ask questions as much as possible, or maybe you are a victim of certain circumstances, or maybe your rights were abused, all right, and so you ask certain questions, and then the offender also take responsibility for their actions, okay, and then acknowledges the harm caused, all right, and work towards making amends, all right. That's what it means. So offender must also take responsibility, because you cannot offend someone and cannot take a responsibility. You must take responsibility, and you must also acknowledge the fact that you caused the harm, because only when you acknowledge the did something wrong, and then secondly, what do? You take responsibility, you take action, that's what you need to do, and then work towards making amends. Yes, just take it upon yourself that the situation is going to change. It's not going to continue the way it is. Do you understand? So that's what it means. So the mediator facilitates communication, helps parties reach agreement, and monitors progress. Then this is our network. Which one are we using? Which of them? Disconnect here.
Yes. Notice.
Maybe we should switch line.
The phone. Connect to hotspot.
The network one. Have you switched? If I'm having a network challenges, I'll come back soon. Thank you. Do you switch? What which network are you using? Hmm? All right, you are welcome back. Oh, I am back. So thank you for still staying with us. So I was talking about victim offender mediation. So we say that you give the victim opportunity to express his or herself, and then you also give the offender the opportunity to acknowledge the fact that he or she committed the harm and then take responsibility. So the mediator facilitates communication, help parties to reach agreements and monitor compliance with agreed upon action. So that is the job of the mediator. You monitor the mediation process, and then at the end of the day, you make sure that agreement is reached and the implementation is followed suit. So that's what it means. So we're going to another element of restorative justice, which is restorative conferencing. All right, restorative conferencing brings together all parties involved in a crime or conflict, including victims, offenders, and their respective supporters, to discuss the harm caused, address underlying issues, and develop a plan for moving forward. So in this case now, you are not just bringing the offender and the victim alone, but you are bringing the entire thing, even their supporters, all right, together for a discussion to make sure that the problem is resolved, a solution is discovered for progress. And then one of the key elements you are going to consider when you are talking about restorative conferencing, where participants share their perspective and experiences in a structured and supportive environment. All right. So in this kind of situation, you give everybody opportunity, or in their groups, if they are in groups, you give them, maybe they have group leaders, and then they present them, everybody communicates their opinions, they have people appointed to speak on behalf of the group and things like that, until you find a solution. Then we'll talk about discussions focus on repairing harm, restoring relationship, and preventing future harms. All right. So the discussion is not just to solve the problem that is at hand, but also to put in place mechanisms to make sure that the problem does not repeat itself. So that's what it means. So when you're talking about restorative conferencing, all right, then agreement reached during the conference may include approaches, all right, to people, apologies rather, people apologize, all right, and then restitution where possible. You have to restore maybe material things or whatever, and to the owner or the rightful owners, you do it. Then community services, where maybe some communities may even have to give you an opportunity or a kind of punishment, like to go and do community service, all right? Yes, to do community service or other actions aimed at accountability and what restoration. So just to make sure that there's a balance, okay, there must be either a disciplinary measure put in place or whichever way that you people have agreed upon based on the consequence and the offenses involved. So that's what it means. So let's look at another aspect of restorative justice, which is community restorative justice program. Community restorative justice program. Community restorative justice program involves local communities in addressing conflicts, harm, and crimes through restorative approaches. These programs often involve trained volunteers who facilitate restorative processes and support those affected by harm. All right. So this one is more of something that happens at the community level, where all the communities come together, where maybe there are crises, like in oil regions, where people are always fighting over resources. Maybe they'll come, maybe one clan with another having issues, they'll come together and then sit down to discuss their problem. So community members are engaged in addressing conflict and supporting those affected by harm. Restorative processes are tailored to the needs and preferences of the community. So you're not just going to just go and bring something, a solution from somewhere. No, the solution must be tailored to fit the needs of the community in question or the communities in question. So community restorative justice programs aim to build social cohesion, strengthen community connections, and reduce reliance on punitive responses. All right. So it's more of trying to strengthen relationship. It's more of trying to bring cohesion among the community people, but not necessarily focusing on punishment. Okay, in the other one, the previous one we discussed, we say some kind of community service. Let's look more or less like a kind of punishment, all right, but a kind of lesser punishment. And then, but this one, you are trying to just mend relationships, strengthen relationship, and also bring understanding among community people. So that's what you're trying to do here, all right. So let's progress. We talk about restorative practices in schools. In our schools, how can we bring the issue of restorative practices in our schools? All right. Restorative practices are increasingly used in schools to address conflict, build positive relationships, and create a supportive learning environment. All right. Those practices can include restorative cycle, peer mediation, and restorative justice conferences. So now you bring in schools, you can bring the children together, they sit in a cycle like we have talked about before, and then that demonstrates equality, all right? Because they are kind of a peer, and so they are in a group, they have to discuss their problem. So they sit together and discuss whatever is the problem, all right, in the group. And then we talk about also peer mediation. You can even be there also to facilitate. There must be a mediator. That can be a teacher, all right? So teachers must be trained as well to be able to mediate in conflict that occurs between and among the student in school, all right? So what are the elements you are going to find in this case? Teachers and students are trained in restorative principles and communication skills, all right? That's what I'm saying. Teachers and students alike are trained to be able to respond effectively and communicate effectively in situations like this. Restorative circles are used to address conflict, build restorative responses, and build community and promote empathy. All right, restorative responses are integrated into disciplinary processes to focus on repairing harm, fostering accountability, and supporting student development. So that's what it means. So this is how you apply restorative justice in school or in a school situation. For those of you that are teachers in this case, when there's a need for you to resolve conflicts between and among the student, then you should try to use the restorative practices we have discussed here. Use what the restorative cycle, use also conferencing, restorative justice conferences, or peer mediation. Okay, these are the things you're going to use to resolve conflicts among the student in your class or in your school. Yeah, let's talk about let's look at Unit 2 of Module 2. And Unit 2 and Module 2, we are talking about mediation and peace building. All right, mediation and peace building. All right, so let's look at the role of mediation. We have defined mediation before. All right, so because we say mediation is what? It's a process whereby a trusted third party intervenes in a conflict between and among the fighting groups. All right, so that is mediation for you. And we say that mediation plays a crucial role in resolving conflict by providing a structured and facilitated negotiation process that helps parties in dispute reach a mutually acceptable agreement. So how does, what role does mediation plays in resolving conflicts? One, neutral third-party facilitation. Neutral third-party facilitation. Or if you want me to qualify it, trusted neutral third-party facilitation. Do you understand? There must be somebody in between called the mediator. All right, and this person must be trusted. All right, it must be a person that cannot take side. Okay, somebody that can stand in the neutral. That's what we say neutral. It's not coming to take side or to show that to sympathize with anybody. Just maintain the neutral ground as much as expected. And then we talk about empowerment of parties. Empowerment of parties. Mediation empowers the parties involved in conflict resolution process by giving them control over the outcome, because you are, as a mediator, you are not going to enforce any decision on the parties in conflict. You give them opportunity to discuss their own problem and discuss proposed solutions by themselves and arrive at the agreed, solution. So that's how we are going to do it. So you're not going to impose anything. That's what we say mediation empowers what? The parties involved. Then confidentiality. Confidentiality is another requirement or another role that mediation plays in conflict resolution. All right? Because as a mediator, whatever that happens is between you and the parties involved. You cannot go and say it anywhere. Do you understand? And if you must make reference regarding the matter, then you must not bring the identity of the parties involved into play. Do you understand? You must make your statement just to give an instance on a neutral basis, not to mention names of people, identity of those people involved. All right, so you are to maintain 100% confidentiality when you are trying to mediate in any matter, because if a party to the conflict, hears that his matter was being discussed somewhere, then that person will never ever trust you again. So if you want to be trusted as a professional mediator, then you should be able to have the capacity to keep people secret, secret. All right, it's not something that somebody tells you something today, tomorrow they hear it everywhere. It's on the street of Abuja or on the street of Lagos, everywhere everybody's, that's not what it is. Or is the reason why it's something that you go and use and do content online. No. Don't go and use people's cases to go and do content, and you must do. Then the identity of people involved must be hidden. All right. Then cost effective. Mediation is also cost effective when you compare to going to court. Do you understand? Mediation is very cheap, it's affordable, and it's effective, and it's less time consuming. Do you understand? Parties just come discuss their problem and they resolve. But if you take your matter to court, it will take months, years to even arrive at whatever you're looking at. So, and sometimes not even in your favor. But in mediation, the role of the mediator is to make sure that every party wins.